We'll find it in the edit.
So Gen V is back with episode 4. I've already put up my episode 1 to 3 reviews, so if you haven't seen those, do check them out before you watch this video. As always, I'm Al, this is the Geek in Review, so let's get to it. So although it's the weekend, school is in, and episode 3 ended in typical boys style, and this episode contains, well, a lot more of that and stuff that I can't always show you on YouTube. We get a deeper look into the boys universe with another comic book character showing up, Tek Knight, who I'm going to explain in a bit. We also get a lot more of the God U team working together and see the relationships and bonds forming and grow, building up the characters and this world. But before we get into it, just to say thanks for taking the time to choose to watch this video. I really appreciate it, and if you haven't done it already, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video if you make it all the way to the end. So the episode picked up pretty much exactly where episode 3 left off. The heir of the guard being searched, and Dean Shetty and Dr. Cardoza from last week are investigating how he died. They think Sam might have done it and are worried about whoever else might be behind it, as they've killed all the guards in the complex on their way out. Shetty's worried about the blowback and finds one of Emma's tiny shoes, starting to put the pieces together. Marie, Andre, Kate and Jordan are trying to find her, but Jordan's more worried about the rankings and where they're sitting. They don't find them and instead find a big crater and only questions, and Jordan seems really combative compared to the rest of the group. They're still worried about the ranking and how everything looks, so out of the sort of 3 or 4 main characters that we're seeing from God U, Jordan is the only one that's still focused on the rankings.
Really? We got bigger fucking problems.
Says number 1.
But Sam and Emma are actually safe at the moment. They're at an old drive-in that Sam used to go to as a kid with his brother, which is very similar to Black Noir returning to somewhere from his childhood in The Boys Season 3. Emma feels guilty about killing the guards, which is unusual in this world to see a superpowered person or hero feel guilty about the actions of using their abilities, so it shows that she's not fully on the journey to becoming a full-on Sup or member of the Seven yet. This is made worse by the fact that she also has to tell Sam that Luke died, as she lied to him to try and convince him to escape last week. Sam takes it about as well as you'd expect and blames himself. Emma gets back to regular size, and as I said in my video last week, they're definitely setting up something between them. There's a real sort of familiar Starlight Huey vibe to these two, going all the way back to season 1. But Sam is still hallucinating and hears a tune similar to a child's toy. He hallucinates a sort of Sesame Street style show called Avenue V, and there was actually a musical called Avenue Q which I went to see, which wasn't bad. I'm not into musicals, but you know, it wasn't bad. And he's got the host and sort of one of the puppets warning him that he has to go and kill the doctor who hurt him. So again, very similar to the whole hallucinations that Black Noir was having regarding Soldier Boy in the last season of The Boys. He tries to tell Emma but gets frustrated, and we see him leap off, which I guess is what caused the crater that the rest of the gang found. Back at the university, we get an advert for Vought Plus featuring Tek Knight, who's investigating God U, but it's all a cover-up for, well, a cover-up. And if you aren't familiar with the Boys comics, Tek Knight is straight out of the pages. In the comic books, he's a sort of mix between Batman and Iron Man. He doesn't have a power, but a suit of armour, and I'll get into the whole Tek Knight thing in another video in his arc in the comics, but let's say he's got some interesting traits that cross over. But in the show, he's a bit more of a Batman, Bruce Wayne and Sherlock Holmes mix rather than the whole Tony Stark thing. He's a former student of God U and seems to know the routine and Vought company line well. He meets with Dean Shetty and she tries to convince him to back down, but he has a detective thing going on and basically takes her apart Sherlock Holmes style.
Adrenaline seeping from your pores, and you're ovulating.
He knows about Brink, Golden Boy and the Woods, and he's here to cover it all up and place the blame on a patsy. He's basically creating fake news and looking for someone to blame for Luke killing himself. She warns him not to try and place any of this blame on the top 5 students, and he just kind of shrugs her off and says they're always replaceable. But back in the dorms, Andre, who seems to have grown a lot closer to Kate now, tells her that his dad knows about the woods and what's going on and that he warned them to back off. And we find out, like most superheroes, his dad had a movie career as well. His dad didn't live up to his expectations, just as we've seen in the first 3 episodes that Andre can't live up to his dad's expectations either. Marie goes to see Rufus, who's the blonde-haired kid that was in the first 3 episodes, and it turns out that he's a psycho. Probably, but his power is he's actually a psychic. He needs one of Emma's possessions to locate her, and to be fair, he does get it spot on. But then, in typical Suits fashion, he betrays Marie, knocking her out. And this is going to be important later on, kind of, probably, maybe. If you've seen the episode, you know what I mean. She wakes up in his room as he's undressed, standing over her, and it doesn't look great. He says it's not what she thinks, and she uses her blood power to explode. Well, you know I can't say it or show it, but you just know what I'm talking about. Jordan shows up just as all of this is happening and warns Marie that Tek Knight's looking for trouble, and the two sort of start to bond, but Jordan's still not a team player, at least yet. Andre and Kate get interviewed by Tek Knight about Luke and what happened, and Tek Knight wants to know why, or at least appears to want to know to get to the bottom of this. Andre does play the game and says that Luke couldn't handle the stress, and Kate does try to do the glamouring thing on him, but he sees it coming a mile away. And he's analysing their responses, knowing that they're lying and that something's going on between Andre and Kate as well. Dean Shetty asks Marie about Emma, realising that she's not been seen in a while, and Shetty really sticks to her cover story here, not letting anything slip, get angry or get frustrated in any way. She thinks it's Emma, but at the moment can't really prove it. Tek Knight is lecturing in Marie's class in interrogation techniques, and again, this is just him interviewing her in a different format under the guise of a lecture. He asks her about the events leading up to Luke's death, and he spots every lie she tells, knowing Brink didn't let her into the class and everything that was going on with that. He tries to insinuate that she might have been in on it with Luke for not getting into the class, but does tell the truth in that it was Jordan who saved the day, not her, deflecting away from Tek Knight. But I'm not sure that he's done with Marie yet. She still didn't tell the whole truth, and he must have known that. Dean Shetty's pissed off that he went after a member of the top 5 in Marie after she told him to stay away, but he says he doesn't have enough to pin the blame on any of them anyway, so decides to blame her. As he puts it, she's just a human. Marie's nervous about telling Tek Knight the truth, and as I keep saying, she's not used to the superhero world and how it works. She's not a ladder climber, put it that way. She ends up hooking up with Jordan when Emma comes in to tell her all about Sam. Jordan knows where the doctor, Dr. Cardosa, lives, and they go to his home to try and stop Sam before he gets there. Meanwhile, Dean Shetty lures Tek Knight into the woods, and she's found out that he has a tumour that's killing him that also causes him to act out by having sex with, well, anything. And I can't really show you all of this, guys. They don't make it easy to show certain aspects of this show, so just leave a like if you know. She blackmails him for his silence, and going back to the boys, this is similar to what Maeve done to Homelander in the last few seasons, going back to the flight that they were on in season 1. So a few similar plot themes are coming through in this show. But Sam manages to get to Dr. Cardosian's house before the gang and is waiting for him, and he seems to be having an episode where he thinks that none of this is real. The rest of the guys show up and try and talk him down, but he snaps. Now this is where it gets interesting for Emma, because we've seen her shrink down, but in this episode we see her bulk up to become giant in order to stop Sam. And when we first figured out how her powers worked last week, I wondered if she'd have the ability to do this, and I'm really glad that they're bringing it to screen this soon, and I'll be honest, it completely worked for me. Marie is about to tell Sam what's going on once Emma's pinned them down, and it pretty much cuts to black, and then Marie wakes up back in bed with Jordan.
I promise.
So I know what you're thinking, what the fuck is going on with that ending? Well, I would guess that Rufus the psychic probably caused the blackout or memory loss. We don't know what Marie remembers or not, so what happened between her and the others before she woke up, we don't know. We'll probably get a flashback opening next week, I think, but what do you guys think's going to happen here? Or what do you think did happen? Let me know in the comments below. Now, I'm really enjoying this show so far, and it's definitely building up the mysteries of what's going on at this school. Almost everyone gets something to do this week apart from Kate, and as I said at the start of the video, this episode builds on the relationships that we've seen in the first 3 episodes. But, it does feel very familiar. The Sam, Emma stuff does feel very early Huey and Starlight, as I said. Shetty blackmailing Tech Knight was almost, as I mentioned, the same move that Maeve done earlier on in the boys' seasons, and the whole Avenue Q stuff was so similar to the Black Noir plot last season in the boys. It does sort of have me worried that this show is falling victim to the whole formula syndrome that plagues Marvel. And by that, I mean they've done enough episodes of The Boys now to know what works and know what doesn't, and they're just adapting stories and arcs that we've already seen to fit into this new show.
George likes his chicken spicy.
It's a hot take, I know, and if you don't agree with me, that's perfectly fine. I'm not saying it's fully happening yet, I'm just saying that I'm worried. That's it. But I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. Do you think that this is a pattern, or am I just making it up and it's all in my head like Sam? Did you enjoy episode 4 of Gen V as much as the first 3? Let me know in the comments below, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at The Geeks Reviews. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, and I'm not trying to dunk on this episode too much, because I still think it's an absolutely fantastic show. It just all feels very familiar, this episode, and I'm not sure how that's going to continue moving forward. So I'm going to be covering this every week along with Loki as well, so make sure you're subscribed and you've got the notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the videos. You can also check out some other less successful videos that I've produced at the end of this one. So as always, my name's Al, thanks for watching.
Yeah, what is it with skull fucking?